Hey, what's up, everybody? It's The Session. JP here, along with Teresa, and we are joined by Adam and Andrew from Old Town Brewing in Portland, Oregon. Everybody at the same time, welcome to the show. I'm just going to welcome all three of you at the same time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. I'm cracking open a beer right now that you had sent, and normally I don't start with the beers. But today has been, as Wesley Willis would say, today's been a hell ride. So we're going to start with your Pilsner. We're going to talk around that. But Teresa, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
Hey, good.
And I too am starting with the beer because it has been one of those days for me as well.
I don't know what it is about today, but it's just, I don't know, man.
It could be because it's hump day. There's just like a lot of shit that's happened, a lot of shit still to come.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of anxiety and shit, and like today, just I don't know, man. It's sort of like physically manifested today, and it's been like just beating me over the head with a 2x4. I don't know, and it's weird. It's a weird time, but we have beer to get us through it.
Yeah, and I have a Pilsner as well.
Hey, there we go.
So I went with the same beer.
Cheers, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. So, Andrew, you are the brewmaster. Adam, you are the owner. Let me start with you, Adam. Did you have any homebrew experience in your past before you decided to open a brewery, or?
No, I was more of a craft beer fan, and living in Portland, it was a dream of mine. But definitely knew out of the gate that in Portland, if you're going to make beer, it better be good. And luckily, we have Andrew, who has done a really good job.
That is a fact, man. You can't. It's like going to Chicago and opening a pizza place that just.
That's
sucks. Exactly
it.
Yeah.
Do it, man. Can't do it. Absolutely not. You would get drummed out of the city in more ways than one over Chicago, I'm sure. So you were a Portland native?
Grew up in Eugene, Oregon, which isn't too far away. Yeah. And then after college, moved to Portland, 25 years ago.
Okay, perfect. So you've pretty much seen the city grow around craft beer and sort of what that means. How's that influenced your decisions with the brewery itself, or has it? I mean, did you just open to make the best beer possible, or were you sort of trying to vibe with what everybody else is doing?
I think one of the things, our history has pizza. So, back in the day, there were not a lot of breweries in Portland when I first moved here. And I think Bridgeport was one of the first craft breweries in Portland that I went to. Okay. And they, did a great job of having, a nice selection of beer, and they had great pizza. And it was, if you know the Pearl District, it was when the Pearl District was just a warehouse district. And I remember that there was like a cat food factory right next door. And I just kind of like that, just simple, great beer, but also, hearty pizza going side by side next to each other.
Yeah, for sure. It's a tested method. Absolutely. And I love Portland, man. It's one of those cities where I could definitely, if I had to move there, I'd be like, oh, this isn't too bad. I really appreciate it. Everyone seems, super weird. I was going to say really nice, but that doesn't really, you can say that about any city, but Portland's bizarre. But the food and the beer scene are just always good, and of course the music and stuff like that. So it's a cool spot for sure. That's a cool spot for sure.
But you're right. I mean, craft beer has proliferated here. It's just been really insane to just watch it grow from just a couple of. I mean, it started out where it just felt like there were a few big breweries or big brands, and then just something happened where Portlanders really appreciated the small craft breweries, and so I don't know. I just felt like it was something special when the smaller you were, the cooler you were. And so we started out, we have a 7-barrel system. So we definitely started out small.
Wow. Yeah. You're absolutely right. The smaller you are, the cooler you are. It's like just the same way in music, where if you're unsigned, man, you're just like the hot new thing. But once someone likes you, you're just
right.
We're just sort of fed up with you now, man. We're over it. All right, Andrew, what about you, man? Were you homebrewing beforehand, or how did you fall?
Oh, long time ago. Yeah, it was one of those things, probably back in the late '90s. Well, I was still in college. One of my friends said, it'd be cool someday just to make your own beer. And I never thought that you could do it. And that just like planted the seed for me. And eventually I got that Christmas, I got a homebrew kit for Christmas. That was my gift. And that just kind of fed the fire for years to come.
I do like that because I think we've all had that notion where like, wait, you can actually make beer?
Yeah.
That's okay. Like we can do this? That's weird.
Yeah. It was one of those weird things of just like, whoa,
yeah,
you can? I thought you're allowed? One of those things. I remember having I went with my dad to pick up the homebrew kit. And I think we had to drive like over an hour to a homebrew store at the time just to get it.
Yeah.
One of those things.
So it wasn't a Mr. Beer kit. It wasn't like one of those like, oh, I'm at Bevmo. I might as well pick up this with my
Yeah, this was an actual homebrew store out in where was that? Would have been in Pittsburgh, like outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, years, like a good hour drive north or something like that. I remember.
Yeah, that's dedication. What was your first batch? You remember this?
Couldn't tell you.
No? Oh, man.
I don't remember. It wasn't infamous or famous, either one.
Sure, I was able to drink it. How's that?
That's good. That was.
You were just happy that it worked, maybe?
Yeah. Why not?
No, I often wonder like what the percentage of successful first batches there are to not. Like I couldn't drink my first 6.
Yeah.
Contaminated and they just taste like dog water. It was just not good.
Yeah, I don't think these things were anything great by any means. But I mean, it was just like I remember it was just the straight up extract kit.
Yeah.
One of those things. Basically Mr. Beer.
Yeah.
All right, I got you. So how did you get involved in wanting to make beer?
It was just something that probably just grew with me for years and years. Did engineering, so I had the mechanical background, then decided for grad school to do the chemistry side of things, and then said, I don't want to do this anymore. And was talking with my cousin. He actually in high school had an exchange student come to stay with him. They became real good friends from Germany, and he went to brewing school, and I ended up talking with him where he went, and he kind of pointed me in the right direction of UC Davis.
Okay.
So that was back in 2005 or something like that, 4 or 5. And then I went through ended up talking with them to figure out what the best course was to go there. And being that I already, went through undergrad, grad school, they're just like, just take the diploma in brewing type thing course, their short course, because, you're just not going to gain anything and nobody's going to hire you, back when, 2005 timeframe when the craft beer industry was starting to go, but it wasn't like it is today with, everybody doing all these, new research things and stuff like that. So it's just like, just do it, get in the industry, one of those things. And it worked, You
think it's easier now to find a job in craft beer coming out of school like that?
I think it is because there have been more breweries that are dedicated to more of the little bit of research. They want that background in micro or engineering or, even fermentation science, stuff like that. I feel they want those things more now than when, like I said, early 2000, when it was just like, you're just gonna, learn by doing, one of those things. And education kind of scared a lot of people, I found, trying to look for stuff there. Why? I don't know, but it did.
Well, they were like, hey, I got my high school diploma, and here this guy has almost a PhD.
Yeah.
Like, I can see that happening.
I don't know. Yeah, but either way, ended up working. And like I said, got into the industry, and it just one of those things that never looked back.
Yeah,
where'd did I land at? That was Sam Adams out in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Not bad. Not a bad place to, start learning on a professional level, man.
Yeah.
What were you doing?
They hired me in for their clear malt based beverages, twisted teas, stuff like that. So this is back when that kind of first started getting traction. because they had a lot of like they call it like the black box separation technique, stuff like that. That you put like a high gravity barley wine, low hopped thing through it, and comes out the other side tasting kind of like diluted vodka. One of those things.
Wow.
What is
so it was trying to get all that kind of stuff worked together. We were partnered with Brown Forman, and so they had like this proprietary technology to get that going, and we were trying to clean it up and make it run better and get better product out of it, so you can basically hide the flavor of everything a little bit easier. Back in the flavored malt beverage days.
So it was like a distillation unit, or
nah, not really like a distillation, but more of like filters, I would call it.
Okay.
It's called ionic separation. So you're like stripping out a bunch of different, like your fusel alcohol, some of that stuff, your color, your esters, things that you just didn't really want in this thing. It was an interesting thing, but hey, it got me in the door.
Yeah,
it worked, and I was there for a couple of years. Then they moved me up to Boston to the R&D brewery there, and I got into the beer there. And by the time I left, I was a brewing manager for their R&D system or program for a while, and then worked on their Utopia stuff, worked on installing new breweries, all that kind of fun stuff, and then kind of pulled the ripcord and said, I'm out of here, and moved to Portland.
That's a long move, man. Were you a little bit like, I don't know if jaded probably isn't the right word, but, if I was going to brewing school and I wanted to make beer, and then I landed at Sam Adams and I was making twisted tea, I would think like something went wrong. But it sounds like you were just more interested in finding a place to then go somewhere else to learn.
Yeah, it was more finding a place that where I can get into somewhere and learn a lot. Yeah, that was kind of my thing on that. I still worked side by side with a brewing division there as well. I was on our own separate team, but worked with the brewing side of stuff hand in hand, one of those. So it wasn't like I was away from beer or anything like that. You
weren't just known as the twisted tea guy.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, there's some knowledge that you could use right now. I mean, we're all trying to make seltzers. I think you probably know how to make seltzers better than the average brewer.
I got a little bit of a background in that. Yeah.
Not that I'm saying that you should make seltzer, because all of us, we all do, but we shouldn't.
No.
Really shouldn't.
I did learn a couple things there. That's for sure.
Are you doing?
You're doing some tinkering with some seltzers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I think anyone who listens to the show knows that I've gone to the dark side, so I won't I'm not trying to be proud or exceptional here.
Teresa makes seltzers now.
I do make seltzers.
Yeah. Hey,
but we're not going to talk about seltzers. We want to talk about your Pilsner.
To me, one of those things is like, it doesn't matter what you make as long as people are buying it, right? As long as you enjoy it. Yeah. You can always find a good beer.
Well, and yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that checks the box for some people, that either they totally avoid beer for, gluten reasons or health reasons or taste reasons. It's something breweries can do, so we can appease those people. So
yep,
I'm good with that.
Yeah, well, I think when craft beer is sort of growing and to get attention, like what we were talking about a little bit before, Adam, about watching the craft industry grow and sort of take hold, and if you're small, you sort of seem to be cooler. I think sort of create that coolness, you have to hyper focus even on the certain types of products. If we make these products and we make them better than anybody else, and if you don't make anything else, you're sort of weird. And I think like now breweries are maybe breaking that mold by doing hazy IPAs, by doing seltzers, by doing these beers that I don't think that would have really gone anywhere 10 years ago.
Well, I think one of the big things that we saw was hazy IPAs.
Yeah.
So at first, a lot of breweries in Portland, they just, certain brewers were like, I'm never going to make a hazy IPA. And then pretty soon, more and more beer drinkers were drinking hazies. And so you had to make a choice. You can keep jobs in your brewery. You can grow. You can take some pride in saying, okay, I'm going to make a hazy IPA, but I'm going to make it better than anyone else around. And so I feel like one of the things, we were one of the earlier breweries to do a hazy. And I think we were really glad, because you don't want to be the last brewery that decided finally we're going to make a hazy IPA. And probably seltzers will be the same way. Yeah. Could be the same way with seltzers.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a good point. You either make what the customers want, or you're I don't know. I wouldn't say you're done, because it depends on what's up regionally, and if you can survive without doing hazies, and that's fine too. But it's almost one of those, like, I closed my business to own the libs kind of a thing.
Yeah. And I think if there's one thing COVID taught us was, for a lot of breweries, some here in town were 70% draft. So if you're being very selective on the beers that you make, and all of a sudden 70% of your revenue is down, or maybe you're 50% draft, that has the possibility of imploding your entire business, all the people that you care about that work for you. When we started getting busy again, because, we lost our draft sales, but our can sales picked up, the brewers were really happy to be busy, because that meant that's job security. So in times like this, sometimes it's really keeping the lights on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about this Pilsner here real fast, because we're getting into COVID times, which of course we're still in. But I do want to talk to you guys about how you've survived that and what you've been doing. But let's talk about Pilsner. So it is rare, exceedingly rare, I think, to find a brewery who does Pilsners. Even though we've had like 5 of them on the last 4 months, which is great for me.
It's because we selectively pick Pilsner style breweries.
Yeah, little known fact. Look at your tap list online. If you don't have any Pilsner,
you must have Pilsner.
Yeah.
Tell me a little about the Pilsner, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. I mean, it's something that actually kind of I've always liked Pilsners. They've been one of my favorite styles for years and years and years. And I would say, about 4 years ago, something like that, we're going to have my first kid, and my wife really wanted to brew. We weren't doing lagers at the brewery, and my wife really wanted to have a Pilsner, one of those for after birth of a kid. So came up with a very, very, very similar version to this Pilsner. I mean, it's been slightly changed a little bit, but that was basically the inspiration for this beer, using noble hops, kind of that pre-prohibition style, where it's, a little bit more hop forward, dry hop with it, lower alcohol, of course, but very noble-esque.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What's the grain bill on this?
This one, a lot of Bohemian Pilsner floor malt from Vireman.
Okay.
Trying to think what else, and I think just some plain two-row mixed in it too.
Okay. All right.
Pretty simple.
There is a like a malty sweetness to it that I thought maybe there was some additional whatever.
No, the Vireman Bohemian floor malted, I've done beers with those off and on, and that just provides this extra little bit of sweetness that I found that just goes really well for these beers.
Yeah. No, it's great.
And Andrew, would you say this is your favorite beer? I think I get the sense that he's most proud of this one, and he's probably too modest to say, but he achieved a gold at the World Beer Cup with this beer, and then at the very latest Great American Beer Festival, a bronze for American Pilsner.
Wow,
that's amazing!
Yeah,
congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah, he seems too modest. I'm glad that
right.
There's no facial expression change.
Yeah.
Frozen. He's like, well, I don't know, man. Whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's a beer.
It's a beer.
Yeah. There is a nice sulfur note coming through too.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about that on a couple of the shows with breweries with Pilsners. There is a sulfur component that it's to style, but I think it sort of adds like a I don't know. This is my dumb beer drinker opinion, but it's almost like an air of like authenticity or whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
I was just about to say authenticity.
Yeah,
like
I know what you're saying
it
on
should
that.
be there.
It should be there.
it should
Yeah.
be clean. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of is like
that's a lager. You kind of expect it.
Yeah, it's almost like a flaw that's there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. I mean, like Hazy IPA, but I don't know. I mean,
it's not a bug; it's a feature.
That's right. No, I really like this beer. There is a very crisp, aggressive, hop bitterness, hop flavor as well, but it very much matches with that malt sweetness. And like I said, just that little sulfur note sort of actually rounds everything out. And I think it sort of enhances the sweetness a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of goes hand in hand with like that malt. And I don't know anything more than that on why
in my mind, sometimes it doesn't really matter as long as you like it. You either you like it or you don't.
Yeah, I definitely get caught up in that sort of like, merry-go-round of like, analyzing beer and finding out why this tastes this way or whatever. It's that home brewer sort of, session radio.
I used to do that for so long, and then I just got to the point, something just clicked in my mind. I'm like, it's just beer. Do I enjoy it or don't I? One of those things. And I can still go back and, analyze everything and go to that. But I remember my mom just drinking beers with her, and I used to do that all the time. She's just like, can't you just enjoy the damn beer? I'm like, no, I guess not.
You're so right though, because I mean, the more you know about beer, you start to go down this rabbit hole of analyzing everything and overanalyzing it. And so you become this spectacular beer snob, and you can't just enjoy a beer because you're always like trying to pick it apart. And it's an important thing to remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you've been in the beer industry longer than any of us. So like, that's good advice for someone who's been doing this a long time.
Yeah. It's like, you got to know how to do it and you got to know when to do it. But most of the time, if you're just having a beer,
turn it off.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part is turning it off, especially, folks, in the beer industry. It's a challenge. It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. Yeah.
It is sort of this thing that has been reoccurring lately, 6 months or whatever on this show specifically, where brewers from all over the country have been sort of saying that, where it's like, this is just a beer to enjoy, or that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to like, shift the paradigm on what Helles is or whatever. I just want to make a beer that you don't think about.
Yep.
And there's something to be said for that. I think this is one of those beers, man. It's, unfortunately, I have to sit here and like try to figure out how to describe it. But if I was just getting just a pint of this somewhere in Portland, man, I wouldn't think twice about it. It's that good. Which maybe used to be like not really.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like one of those things. It's like one of the my goal with basically any beer for you want to do is like, if you're just making a standard IPA or Pils or whatever you want to call it, want to make it where it's just like you drink it and you don't realize you drank the whole beer, and you're like, whoa, that was what happened. One of those things. Just that enjoyable, pleasurable experience. And like if you're having, with pizza or just even with dinner or just with friends, and all of a sudden you look and go, whoa, where'd it go? One of those things. Yeah. I'll take another.
You find it? That's
always my goal.
Do you find it challenging in a town like Portland, which has so much good beer and a lot of lagers, to sort of carve out a space for a Pilsner?
I would say yeah. And in my mind, it's like, yeah, people know that they're out there. People know that they like them. I feel like a lot of people just don't know which ones they like better than others. So it's always one of those things. Oh yeah, I'll have a Pilsner or something like that, but they don't know who's the search out in my mind.
Do you think there's too many?
I don't think there's too many. I mean, it's always been talk of, this is the year of the lager, or the Pilsner's coming, one of those things. And of all honesty, I've been waiting for 5 years, and people have been saying it for 5 years. And, sales are hazy IPAs and IPAs are still winning,
Yeah. Yep.
I think the Brut IPA sort of shifted all of that. The Brut IPA came out of nowhere. knocked Pilsner off its course, and then Hazy IPA, took over from there.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, true.
It's my title. All right, let's take a quick break. I'm going to go grab 2 more beers, and we're going to come back and talk with the boys from Old Town Brewing. Hang on, everybody. It's the session. We'll be right back. Thanks a lot, everybody, for hanging around. We have Old Town Brewing on the session here today, and I'm about to crack open, I guess, the American Red Ale, you guys. Paulie's not Irish. Who is Paulie, and why isn't he Irish? I feel like he should be.
Yes, so Paulie was one of our early bartenders.
Okay.
And he was a Scotsman.
Okay.
And everyone would say, "Oh, I love your Irish accent." And I guess you don't tell a Scotsman they sound like someone from Ireland. So that would make him pretty grumpy. So when we first created our red, we named it Paulie's Not Irish Red.
I like it. Yeah, I feel like you don't call
it's got a big story.
Yeah, it's a good story. You don't call a Scotsman Irish, and you don't call an Irishman English. I feel like those are just 2 good ways to get into fights.
Very good point.
Yeah. See, this is what I like already about you guys, because not many breweries make a red ale anymore. And I don't know why. I think it's a great style. It's severely underrated as a style. And so this is a 5.6, dude. Come on, that's easy. That's great. I love it.
So is it a not Irish red ale or American red ale?
It's American.
It's an American red.
American red.
American red ale. So a little hoppier?
A little bit hoppier. Yeah. I want to say it's in the mid 30s for the bitterness, something like that.
Yeah,
so a little bit more on the bitter
is it
side.
using like a Cascade sort of hop, or is it more just bittering?
I want to say it's Pearl and Hood.
That's right.
Oh, cool.
Wow. Look at you, Andrew. You really are the brewer there.
And Andrew, once again, kicked butt with this beer. He got a bronze at GABF this past year. So we were...
Dan,
we weren't there at the stadium because we couldn't, but we were all cheering at the brewery.
That's great, man. Yeah, you got 2014 for the World Beer Cup bronze, and then a couple of them for the best of craft beer, and then GABF. I love it. Yeah, this is solid, man. This is very good. It's not like overly sort of caramel, overly roasty like some American Reds can be. It is a light touch with that, but it's drier at the end. So it definitely cleans up a lot better than some other red ales that I've had too. So to me, this is a very easy drinking, slightly roasty American red ale. Can you tell me the grain bill a little bit?
Caramel malts.
You're like, what do I know? I'm sit in my office chair. I don't know.
See, this is where I'll stray and say, this is why we have recipes, so I don't have to remember all of it.
Wow. You're like, I'm done doing homework, dude.
It's probably just some, I want to say it was like base 2 row, some caramel 60, and maybe some like Simpson's dark crystal or something like that. Crystal. Yeah.
Extra dark. Yeah, that's it. Look at you. See? Don't tell me you don't know. You know exactly what's going on. Yeah, I like it. How does this sell? People like it?
I was going to say, surprisingly, over the past 2 months, I feel like this one has been on fire.
Really? Why do you think
that? I have no idea. No clue, but hey, it's like one of those things. I think some of it is because there are really no red ales in Portland.
That's what I was going to say. There's just people have kind of left the red market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time we brew a red ale, we're in Sacramento area and it just blows up. Like it's gone so fast.
Yeah. I would say I'm probably doing now on this thing. I mean, it's not tremendous amount of volume, but I mean, it's probably doing almost 4 brews a month of it. Something like that.
Wow.
That's a lot. That's really a lot.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm like so shocked about that. Like
I think like we're both just excited. It's not shock. It's like, yes.
it is sort of like we're reclaiming the just classic styles, or we don't have
Completely.
we don't have to invent new styles to explain what we're doing. We're sort of like bringing sexy back.
Yeah. What do you mean it never left?
So the way you guys are talking about this, it sounds like you have like a set list of beers, or pretty well set, and you brew them over time and for a long time. Is that correct? That is so wonderful, because I mean, that's one of the things that I've really been hoping that people would get back to, is like really trying to perfect a style. And it sounds like, that's something you guys have really done.
As opposed
because
brewing
go ahead.
over and over again.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we saw for a while, that trend of you had to have something new. And, hearing and reading stories about, brewers that when you do it that way, it's about 80% of what you want. You never brew it exactly the way you want the beer to taste. And when you have a tried and true beer style that you go back to, a flagship, you are able to really hone it in.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder how much of that is untapped influence of you have to have something new constantly. I
don't know. I don't really think it's untapped. I think it just got to be this like game with consumers, that breweries think that they have to make something different every time for people to be interested.
Yeah, I would kind of agree on that.
Okay.
And Instagram, you got to have a new photo of something new that nobody's ever seen before, and invest a lot of money in photography and label art. Yeah. Eye candy.
Well, because I mean, I've heard it from the brewer side before, a few years ago, where people are coming in and going, "What do you have new? What do you have new?" And in my mind, I just equated it to, well, why does anybody really care if they've never been to this place or whatever? I would think it would just be, sites like Untapped, where you have to get the game, you have to get the badge or whatever it is, right? But I'm happy to be, wrong, I guess. I've been wrong once before, Teresa, and it wasn't any fun.
Just that one time. Yeah. We wouldn't let you forget it, so it stung quite a bit.
Yeah. I think COVID has also changed things a little bit, because people are going to the grocery store and they've decided, I like this particular beer, whatever it might be, and they just are stocking up on that beer. Versus going out and about because they can't go out and about and try different styles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely in that camp. I basically buy Sierra Nevada or Coors at the grocery store, and that's it. I mean, we're way out here in East County where there's like no craft beer representation really at the supermarket, so that's just what I can get that tastes good. But we also don't have many breweries around here too. But the few times I do go out, I try to like pick up beers. For like pickups, like curbside, whatever, right? And you guys started something like that too for COVID, right? Didn't you, like a drive-through brewers market or something?
Yeah. So that was we all got together in the brewery, and we were just, I mean, it was so tragic, in the beginning, and there was a complete lockdown, and so we were seeing some different success. Like there was this strip club in Portland. They got national news because they did a drive-through strip club. And so one of the things we're going, okay, what really is working? Well, drive-throughs are working.
Yeah.
And we had just read about all of these beer festivals like Oregon Brewers Fest being canceled. And people was this pent up, I just really want to support my local brewery, but I don't know how. And so we came up with this idea, kind of a mashup, which is essentially a drive-through, beer festival. So we invited every weekend 7 breweries. So there were 8 of us all together, and people would come to the parking lot and they would drive through, and we had tents set up for each brewery so that you could keep your safe distance. And while they were driving through, they would roll down their windows and ask questions if they wanted to about beers. It also gave a chance for the community to engage with, breweries. And so there was a lot of just, hey, I'm driving through and, I support you guys and I want to help you guys out, and, honking their horn. And while they were going through the drive-through, we had an online store. So through their phones, they would just basically order the beer that they wanted to. And when they got to the end of the whole drive-through Brewers Market line.
Mm-hmm.
You'd hit their checkout button and pay, and inside we had a whole team of people, and a ticket would print, and then we would have people like running and putting together the package of beers.
Wow.
And so we were able to support 7 breweries every weekend, and people could go to one place and buy, each brewery had 3 different selections that they could choose from. So you just had 3 choices from 8 breweries, 24 different beer possibilities. And it ended up being just this, such a positive, energetic, heartwarming experience. It's probably one of the best feelings that I've had during this whole COVID mess. Yeah.
That's cool, man. That must have been logistically just sort of terrifying, at least for the first one.
That's exactly it. The first one was the busiest, of course, right? And there's certain things that you just don't foresee. So we had a couple of like glitches, but everyone was really patient. And, we were sweating, running and putting the beer together and running it out to the car. But it worked out super well. And I still hear great stories from people that came and really enjoyed it.
That's cool. Is it still going on?
When things reopened, it kind of lost its appeal because people could go inside. But if we need to bring it back just once a year, just to commemorate, what we all went through together. Yeah.
You should do like a Brewers Market Brew Fest. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. We've been talking about maybe doing that once a year.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
That's so cool.
I personally like, especially because there are so many breweries in Portland, and Portland is, fairly big for me. I sort of appreciate being able to go to one place to try different beers from around the city. I think it's a cool idea. It's probably not very viable to like continue on staff and do all this kind of stuff. And it's probably logistically terrible for everybody involved when things are open and they can just serve their community across their bar. But I think there's something to be said for like look, it's a drive-through liquor store for
it's 100% what it is.
Pretty much what it is.
It is, but it's totally not at the same time. Like people get like what goes into a brewery, and it has a totally different like feeling, and to be able to support that when you can't support it by being there with your family, like that's huge. That's super cool.
Like for me, go ahead.
Oh, it was also just really great because in a lot of towns, brewers are celebrities, right?
Yeah.
And they want to see their favorite brewer, and so the brewers were there in the tent. So maybe they weren't right next to him, but they could just show their appreciation to the brewer and the breweries. And that made, everybody feel good.
Did you put Andrew out there on a stool, like show him off, or?
He's really shy, but he was there. He was there. He was in the back. He's more of a warehouse guy. He wanted to, pack things up and take it out to the cars.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Me too. I wouldn't want to. Well, actually, I would want to sit out there. Because you don't have to do anything at that point. You just stand there and you go like this.
Right.
You're welcome.
On wave.
Really good time. Yeah.
The local talent.
Yeah, and you're talking about Play-Doh or whatever. He's like, all right, yeah, it's 14 Play-Doh. Bye. Thanks for your help. Dripping over. See, you combine that with the strip club, so while people are waiting,
boom.
Oh my God.
They get a hood dance or a trunk dance or whatever. They have a VIP tent, like those car tents you can drive through.
You might have to have 2 lines actually, because like some people only want like half the experience.
You can offer 2 lines.
Okay, 3 lines.
If they want to pay more, they can have a couple lines.
Yeah.
Oh, lines of cars.
Yeah, lines of cars. Like you're not going to take your wife and kids or your husband and kids through.
Sure.
You have to choose your line. Like choose your adventure.
That's true.
There's a cover charge. There's a steep cover charge.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. I mean, yeah, that you might not be prepared for. So you just got to go through the right line. Stay in your lane.
Yeah, you got to do it. Okay, I'm opening the Hazy IPA Pillow Fist.
Pillow Fist. There is a good hazy name.
Yeah, tell me the name first of all, and then we'll get into the beer a little bit.
Oh. Adam, how did that one come up?
So that one was Joe and I think it was Steve. Basically, the idea was that it was supposed to be the softest punch in the mouth that you've ever received. So, you have the you have the, you know, the hops and the bitterness, because our style, the way that we make this hazy IPA is a lot more bitter than the East Coast style. So it fits our market more. But we want it to be soft and pillowy. So that's essentially where the name came from. And it's definitely memorable. People remember the name and laugh about it.
It's a good name. It's a high quality name for sure.
And this is by far our biggest seller. Shocker, right?
Yeah, that's so surprising to me. Not really. So can I ask you something about your logo? It's got this little jumping deer.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Where does it come from?
So
here we go.
There's a big story behind this.
Oh, good.
So when we started out as a brewery, one of the designers had come up with a logo, and the logo is very similar to what is a very recognizable sign in Portland. And it's an old historic sign that was started by a clothing company. And so I thought, well, I better talk to an attorney about this. So it turned out that trademarks are based on product categories, and no one had trademarked the symbol for beer and alcohol. So we trademarked it and, you know, went through all the process and put it on all of our labels. And then we ended up being, when you've had a trademark for more than 5 years, it becomes incontestable. The short story is we saw some things going on when we spoke to the city, and the city of Portland was trying to get our logo back from us and then license it to Anheuser-Busch.
Really?
That sounds perfect. I don't know.
Yeah.
Assholes.
Sounds like something you guys want to do.
Yeah. So it turned into a big thing. We were trying to work it out, and then we were spending so much money on legal fees that it was going to take us under. So we went public, and the support from the community was unbelievable. People held a rally for us. Reverend Nat, who's, you know, owns a cidery here in Portland, Rogue banned the mayor and all of the attorneys that worked for the city until they left us alone.
That's and a rogue thing to do too.
Yeah, I mean, they were just
that's
awesome.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it still was, you know, going forward. And then finally the noise got so big, it made national news. And, you know, we worked it out and we got our logo, you know, I wouldn't say back, but we were able to keep our logo and not go under. So it was for us, just the community that stood behind us, was just awesome. And
we covered this story a few times. I mean, it was, you know, months and months going on, but yeah, we talked about it for sure. And yeah, it was weird. So if I remember correctly, it was something like the city just wanted to use it, just start using it, even though you had the trademark, and
right.
And then they sued you for it. So I mean, how does that feel when like the city that you operate in just wants to take you to court over the thing that you have rights to? Because they tried a couple times to get issued a trademark on it, right?
And they were rejected 3 or 4 times by the trademark office, but they kept trying, and we kept having to then defend ourselves. I thought that I must not be explaining this correctly when I was talking to the city officials and the attorney. Like, don't you guys see that this is wrong? And eventually, you know, I couldn't make any headway, but the community made headway, and it was a head scratcher, but it ended well. And, you know, luckily we didn't break the bank doing it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think it was just because Big Beer was in their ear trying to like get this done?
Yeah, they told us that they were offered, I think it was $25,000 for the rights to put it on Budweiser products.
That's such like nothing.
Isn't that like extortion or not extortion? Corruption. That's what it sounds like to me. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And yeah, it was stressful. It was stressful for us because at some point it's your brand. But do you just drop it? Because, you know, the city had a team of 25 attorneys and a law firm on hire, and, you know, it was just nothing that we could afford to keep up with. Wow. So it got to a really bad place, and then it just was great, and we were just relieved.
Man.
Well, good for you guys that you know, I mean, and I can imagine like once the community heard about your need, like that they would come to your rescue, and that's really good.
That's craft beer. You know, we're all competing in the same space, but when there's a crisis and someone is, you know, in a tough situation, everyone bands together. And, you know, we had 14 different breweries at at the rally that they put together for us, all just doing whatever they could to help, you know, get attention. And then Rogue just going public like they did. And that may have been the game changer right there.
Wow. I can't imagine, like, number one, being a business in a city that is actively suing you with, you know, presumably, you know, your tax money.
Right.
And then being that city or a city official, like leading this charge to take away what's legally yours, and then seeing the city just sort of have a rally to fight you. I don't know. I feel like that's just a weird, man. What a weird place for Portland, for the city to be in. I mean, especially
no kidding.
They get so much tourism from beer. Like, I don't know. It's weird, but I'm glad it's over for you guys.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It ended well.
Yeah,
and we put the registered trademark symbol on every logo, making sure that it's there so everybody knows that we have it trademarked.
Very good. Man. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, you know, look, that sign's been up in Portland forever. Like, why didn't they should have tried harder? You know, it's one of those things where you go like, well, we messed up. We should have done this first, and they did. So maybe they should have approached you for licensing. I don't know, but even then,
yeah. I mean, that would have been a different story.
Yeah, Andrew, let's talk about this hazy IPA, man. What? How do you achieve the haziness? Is it a yeast-driven thing, or is it
a yeast-driven thing? We got oats in this one, and mainly the yeast.
Okay.
It's an English style that, for some reason, I don't know. I mean, I never really looked into it a whole lot. I read some on it, but in general, this strain of yeast, like every time that it just interacts with the hops, it just stays in suspension.
Okay.
I don't get it.
And you're a science guy.
It was one of those things of like, I started looking into it, and then I'm like, yeah, it works. Let's roll with it. People like it.
I feel like Andrew's just like I don't know, maybe like a nihilistic brewer. He's like, I don't know. Look, I know enough to do the thing, and I just don't care enough anymore. That's fine. That's all I need.
Yes and no. You know, one of those.
Good, and that's, you know, because you sort of can get lost in the weeds, man. You know, I've had beers from brewers that are just like so in the weeds with the science that it's almost like overcomplicated.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't want that. You definitely want a line between the science and just reality.
Mm-hmm. I definitely don't want that overcomplicated. My life's complicated enough. It's just something to enjoy.
Yeah. But and you were talking it's a little more bitter than like the East Coast beers. And it's definitely, you know, more a firm bitterness in hazies that I've had too. Is that, you know, just because that's what you like? Or
that's kind of what the market here really wanted.
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, it's, you know, it is what it is in my mind, but people really like it, and it's one of those things. If I were to drink more of it, I definitely want to lower the bitterness on it. But it sells. People like it. I'm not going to mess with it.
That's good. Yeah. Sort of akin to the Pilsner question is: do you find it tough, or do you care about finding a niche in the hazy market in Portland? I mean, it's your number one seller, so maybe it doesn't really matter. When you went to brew the beer for the first time, was it like, hey, I don't know, there's like a million of these things out here, who's gonna whatever, or did those thoughts sort of enter you guys' mind at all?
Yeah, it definitely did. It's one of those things that, like, you know, there's more and more coming in the market, so why are they going to choose ours over somebody else's? And, you know, picking the hops that were in it, you know, your standard Citra, Mosaic, really pushing those forward. I mean, those are the two that people really, really enjoy, especially out here. So just like, okay, well, that can kind of set us apart, you know, make sure those are in there. and just drive it home. And it just got in front of enough people that they really enjoyed it. And, they told their friends who told their friends, and things worked out,
Yeah. It just happens, man. Very good. Very good, man. That's a very, it is like a cloudy West Coast IPA.
Yeah.
It would be hard for me if I tasted that blind to know that it was a hazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of what makes hazy beers not so drinkable is that like really pillowy malt plus like not a lot of bitterness, so it comes off a little too sweet, and then it just becomes not so drinkable. Like I really advocate for a little more bitterness in these beers, because otherwise they're like, they get flabby. That's the way I put it. It's like a little too flabby.
I'm kind of with you on that, and that's why I mainly just stick with, if I'm doing an IPA, just a straight American clear IPA, one of those things.
Yeah.
I know what I'm getting into.
Yeah, exactly.
Amen to you, brother. Like I wish we could influence the world a little more.
But hey,
what are you gonna
that's
do?
what people want to drink. Let them drink it.
Yeah,
I'll make it.
Yeah, and it's and I do sort of appreciate. I mean, although there's a space for them, like the traditional juicy, sort of like overly sweet, overly tropical beers, but I feel like the hazy category maybe is shifting away from those and sort of going to something like this, where there is still a bitterness, because at the heart of it, people want an IPA, and this sort of differentiates it between these are just like drinking feathers or whatever, right? Like pills, right? Yeah. So there is, I don't know, man. I feel like the style sort of shifting with like leaning a little bit more towards having some more firm bitters than it has had in the past. Like this.
I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, what do I know though? I don't know anything. But I do know that we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and I have two more beers. They're both IPAs. And so we're going to drink those side by side and talk about IPAs a little bit, and then we'll wrap things up. Everybody, hang on. It's The Session. We'll be right back. Thanks, everybody, for sticking around. Old Town Brewing. We're about to crack open a couple of IPAs. Now, I have just the normal IPA, which is just called IPA, and then I have Shanghai IPA. So which is first? Which should I open first? Or does it matter?
Andrew, you decide.
I was going to say, it doesn't really matter. The IPA or whatever is just more of the fruity, like your El Dorado hop IPA, and then Shanghai is more of your classic IPA from kind of like the late 90s, more of an English style.
Okay, well let's just do the regular. I don't know.
The unleaded version.
There we go. Yeah.
And the funniest thing is that the flagship IPA, just the IPA, is our newest beer.
Oh, really?
And so, we were working really hard on it. We wanted something that was really just like a crushable IPA. It was easy to drink. There's so many IPAs where you have one and then you're done. And we serve pizza. So with pizza, it could fill you up. And so, Andrew and I were talking about something that had, some of the modern hops, that juiciness that people are drinking now.
Yeah.
But something that was really sessionable. And so, and it's very different when you taste the Shanghai. They're both IPAs, but they are in different worlds, I think.
Okay. Well, that's sort of why I wanted to save them for last, to do side by side, because, drinking two of the same style, that obviously they have to be very different. So this is 6.1%. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's, on the sessionable scale of what IPAs are these days.
Mm-hmm.
50 IBUs, Citra, El Dorado, and Amarillo.
Oh, yum.
Yeah. It is very crisp. Yeah, that's pretty good, man. I like that. That's not too bad. You got a little C15 in there, it says, and some Pilsner malt, too.
Mm-hmm.
What do you find you
get?
So
do you guys
mixing that?
Do you guys like to do your IPAs with a little like sugar to dry it out to make it less malty, or do you kind of stay away from
I've done that before. I've toyed back and forth with it, and sometimes it just didn't. It made it too dry for me. So I always wanted something with a little bit more malt backbone, but not like a real malty flavor. So, which is kind of why I threw in like the Pilsner malt in it, just to get that little bit lighter character in it, but still have the bitterness to not overpower you. So, yeah, it's like I have done it with sugar, and I find I haven't found the right ratio for it yet. I guess that's how I should preface it. I don't mind them with it by any means, but I found with a lot of the ones that I've done, I just end up getting a little bit too dry with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can definitely see this working with pizza, because there's a very, very firm bitterness and it sort of lasts a long time. And, I would think that would really cut some grease, some cheesy grease. You know what I mean?
Pepperoni.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you got to cut that pepperoni. So how does this one do in your flagship of IPAs?
As far as volume sales?
Yeah, popularity, whatever.
It's so new. This is the one we're trying to grow the most. So it's getting some traction, slowly getting into some, chain stores. But it's frankly the toughest style to get traction in. Like, we're really excited about it, but to convince a beer buyer, hey, I got another IPA for you in Portland, Oregon.
How do you do that? How do you get a new IPA on the market in Portland?
You try every which way you can. You try to get the right people to taste it. I think everybody's a little bit different. Some people think social media is the way to do it. Untapped, you guys talked about. Mm-hmm. Some of it's just luck. The right people drink it. Awards can help too. So you end up getting a medal for the Great American Beer Festival for American IPA. All of a sudden, boom. There's not one path. And I think we're just trying right now to get it in front of the right people.
Everybody.
Everybody. Right. Exactly. Please drink it,
man.
Because we just put that one out. I want to say that was just this past fall.
Yeah, it's that new.
Oh, it's a baby. It's that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay. And people are receptive to it. I mean, so even I can't imagine, number one, trying to do a new IPA in Portland, but then also during COVID. I mean, but it sounds like you're confident enough in your sales, or sales are stable enough where you can go ahead and just sort of, I don't want to say business as usual, but
a lot of times we're able to launch a beer in our pubs, and that was really tough to do. The brewers market helped. We sold some through the brewers market, but as an example, we had a beer buyer for one of the big chains taste it and really like it, and put it in there. So that with some of the bigger stores, the one thing that it does is it's advertising. So you hope people will try it. But if anything, they just see it there. So it reminds them, if I see that again, maybe I'll get it the next time.
Yeah, that brand recognition is that's hard to trace.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Shanghai. What's with the name? And while I crack this beer open, if you wouldn't mind telling me a little bit about Shanghai.
Yeah, so our original location is in downtown Portland, and it's in the second oldest building in the city. And in Portland, there are underground tunnels. They're called the Shanghai tunnels. And rumor has it that there used to be opium dens and prostitution and all kinds of things going on down there. There were bars around the Old Town neighborhood where people would just get shanghaied. So they'd be at the bars, someone would pull a lever, supposedly, and they would fall into the basement, get knocked unconscious, and then the next thing they knew, they were on a ship in the Pacific Ocean. And so what's that?
To what end? Like, I mean, I always thought that was sort of like a myth, but it sounds like it was, relatively true. But like, why would they be shipped off to, Shanghai? I would guess, right?
Slave labor is how the story goes. So a way to just get free labor on some of these ships.
Okay.
And there's there's a bunch of tour companies. There's probably like 2 or 3 tour companies that give Shanghai tunnel tours. And one of them uses our space down below, and it's really spooky down there.
Okay.
And we'll do like they'll go down there and do their tunnel tour, and they'll come up and they'll do a beer tasting. So it's kind of a fun touristy thing to do. And I just like the name Shanghai IPA. And so I had been holding on to it. And it was Andrew's first project when he was at Old Town was we weren't like, we didn't love our IPA. And Andrew was like, so I hear you guys aren't really digging on your IPA. Well, tell me what you want. And it became this really cool team experience where we went through all of these iterations. And then the final product was this just incredible beer that we all loved. And Andrew, I think you told me you'd never been at the GABF award presentation before when you were with Sam Adams. And so we'd all worked as a team on this beer, and we're in Denver, and it won gold
oh wow!
right out of the gate. And it was just like one of the coolest feelings in the early days of the brewery. And Andrew, we drank Goldschlager that night as a toast, because and Andrew was like, this was really cool. I've never been to an award show. And we were all high-fiving. That was awesome. Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's a good story. That's to win your first gold at your new brewery doing the new project. That's got to be pretty special, man.
Yeah, it was fun for sure.
So I'm sort of surprised that in a city that has such a reputation that nobody had taken Shanghai IPA before.
Right, as a name?
Yeah, as a name.
Yeah, totally. It was like such a good name, and I was hoping that people would like the beer and it would do well, because I didn't want to have to recycle that name and not be a good seller.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I like it. I mean, it is definitely like the old school, like you were saying, Andrew, the old school IPA. There's I'm imagining a lot of crystal malt. No, it's two-row pale and honey malt.
Yep.
Oh, honey malt. Nice.
Wow, that is a throwback, man.
It is. And then classic Pacific Northwest hops, I'm guessing.
Look at that color.
I want to say it's Cascade, Columbus, and
I bet here, let's see.
Nugget,
Liberty,
Cascade, Liberty, Columbus, and Crystal.
Yeah.
You're going.
Yeah, that's my kind of IPA for sure.
Yeah, you would definitely like this. You're going way back, man, on that one.
Yeah.
But tasting it, I'm sort of surprised that there's no honey, I guess, is a crystal malt, but it's not like a C15 or like a C40 when I think of like those old IPAs, right?
Yeah.
Those higher Cs. But why did you go honey malt on that?
It's something that I like before I got here. This is one of the first ones he was saying when I moved into beer I worked on, and it was just one of those things. I just got hooked on honey malt for a while, just because it had like this real unique tart character, but it was still sweet. So it was just like one of those things of just like it adds more depth than what you would get with just a standard C15 or a 20 or something like that. You don't just get like this toffee note to it. You get a little bit more of a unique sweetness.
Yeah, it is like a brighter, almost grain thing, like a brighter straw, maybe.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
a little bit. Maybe that's just the hop combination. But how do people take to the Shanghai?
I think people. I mean on average,
it's an old school hop or old school style beer.
Yeah. So it's old school. It's our biggest seller in the pubs, not necessarily in the market. So that's where there's kind of that disconnect. We get a lot of people coming just for that beer at the pub. Okay. But, as far as English IPA, it's not a crazy seller out there. Maybe on draft, but not as from a package standpoint, because people are really looking for those more juicy, less malty beers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I mean. This is not it. But you're racking up awards with this thing too. I mean, since 2005, gold at GABF, bronze at the Oregon Beer Awards, gold at North American Beer, gold at World Beer Cup in 2018, and on and on. So
that's awesome.
This must be tickling the palate of I don't know.
It's like all the judges are drinking it thinking, this is what I want IPAs to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is one though that I've always have to watch myself on because it's. I mean, even though it's for some reason it's like 6.5%. It's not ridiculously high in alcohol, but I mean it's high enough. But I could find myself just drinking this one, and all of a sudden I had two, and I'm just like, whoa, I gotta stop for a second here.
It's 10 in the morning. I have to make beer. I can't do this right now. Yeah, this the name. I mean, obviously, it reminds me of the bar, the Shanghai Tunnel.
Oh, you've been to the Shanghai Tunnel?
I've been to the Shanghai Tunnel a few times, and it was it's like one of my favorite places to go in Portland. I haven't been in several years, but like going up there for Oregon Brews Fest or whatever.
That's a great spot.
It really
they used to buy that one. They used to buy this beer a lot from us.
Sure, I can imagine. Yeah, it's been a few years. I saw what the fuck is that dude's name? No, it doesn't matter because it's a stupid story. But I saw some like actor in there. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Well, I got a funny story about the Shanghai Tunnel bar. It's the only bar in Portland I've gotten kicked out of.
What did you do, man?
So it was my turn to buy drinks with my friends. I stand up to go buy the drinks, and someone threw a bottle at the bartender. And it broke against the glass. And of course, I just happened to stand up at that point. So he thinks it's me. So I get totally bounced out of there.
My God.
I was gonna say you're such a mild-mannered dude. Like, how did you accomplish this?
I don't know.
It was Andrew who did it.
Yeah.
Wrong, right place, wrong time.
It was a ghost, right?
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. You guys are making some very different tasting beers, but it sounds like there's definitely a lot of crowd appeal for that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I guess I just sort of, I don't know why, I sort of go Portland beer scene is just hazy IPA and that's it. But and I know that's not true, but that's me. But it's good to hear that you guys are and to taste the red that you're doing and the Pilsner, and the IPAs are even different too.
Thank you. Yeah,
I think
we've been kind of grinding it out over the years, and in some of these towns where there are a lot of breweries, it is really hard to stand out. But one of the things that we like are the classics. We'll do fun one-off beers and hazies, but we do take pride in the classic styles, and we think that the market is kind of coming back there right now. We're definitely seeing that momentum. Yeah,
absolutely. I do want to talk real quick before we wrap up about your YouTube page.
Okay.
Where we're getting into. In case anybody doesn't know, they do really weird, beer parodies or beer videos. Definitely funnier than the stuff that we've tried to do on the Brewing Network. But I think it's funny because like some of your views have like 16,000 or 22,000 views, and you have like 100 followers on YouTube, and I think that's, for me, that shows the viral aspect of the videos that you guys are doing. I mean, you're doing soap opera, interpretations, right? Or satirical soap opera. And so I saw that in the pre-show, and I click on the links, and I'm like, okay, what is this going to be? 45? It's a 5-minute soap opera.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is commitment to the bit, and I appreciated it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, they're very well done. You were talking earlier about spending a lot of money on Instagram photos and whatever.
Right.
This sort of like fills that gap for you guys too, because I guarantee you that they weren't necessarily really cheap to do.
Well, we were able to do them in-house, so that saved some money.
Nice.
But really, what it came down to is we're just trying to figure out how to be different, like a lot of breweries, and we just kind of started doing, I don't even remember what the first one was. It might have been the Amazonia video. I don't know if you saw that with the string. It was that one was probably one of our first takes. And so it was like a Planet Earth type of beer, and David Edinburgh. And we had so much fun doing it, and it got a lot of attention. And so we've started doing more and more videos, and people were sharing them and talking about them. Mm-hmm. And so that became our unique place in our market, and maybe a little bit on the West Coast. And it was funny, we would go to, World Beer Cup, Craft Brewers Conference, and people would recognize us from the video.
No way.
Yeah. So, there's a couple of them that were really funny. Like our most successful with just views was Old Town Gold, which basically we did a parody of Old Town Road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was a blast. And, you know, my kids were listening to that song constantly, and we'd been doing videos for a while. So I talked to Jordan, who was doing the creative part. I said, you know what? The number one song for the last 20 something weeks has Old Town in it. If we don't figure out a way to do a parody video on that, we're missing the opportunity. And yeah, that one, just a lot of people loved it and cracked up about it.
Yeah, for sure. Are you gonna parody the other song they did, the Montero "Call Me by Your Name" video?
We haven't talked about that one yet. Maybe we're just one and done with that. One hit wonder. We're a one hit wonder.
Yeah, you know, did you share that with Little Nas X? Like, did you just like send it to his Instagram page, or because I think
we did.
Okay,
we wanted him to kind of reshare it.
Yeah, that'd be something I think would be into, because all those. I mean, he stayed up on the charts. I think he broke a record.
Yeah,
because he would put out like remixes and stuff.
And some of those, you know, parodies were doing really well. So we had hoped that eventually it would get in the right hands, which it didn't. But it got enough, shares around the country and locally that, it was good enough for us. And then I got to wear a wig, so I was really happy about that. I hadn't been in any of our videos since, because I, let the younger kids do it, and I'm like, okay, with this one, I've got to wear a wig. I want to be. What's his name? The country star. Billy Ray Cyrus. So I told Jordan, I want to be Billy Ray Cyrus in this.
That's right. Your first shot right out of the gate, you got to go big.
Yeah, and the kids said, "Dad, I don't think he can sing, and I don't think he can dance." Oh. So I had to try to live up to the challenge.
Yeah, and did you?
Well,
did they come back?
The singing was voiced. The singing was voiceovered.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that tells me all I need to know. Did your kids know that? Did they come to you and be like, "Hey, Dad, look, I'm really sorry, but I was wrong"?
Yeah.
Our kids never say they're wrong.
Imagine my kid going, "Daddy, I was wrong." Yeah, I know. I know you were, and that's okay. Andrew, Adam, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Beers and joining us. You can go to, what is it? Old Town Brewing.com is the website.
OT Brewing.
OT Brewing.
Yeah.
See, thank you very much for shortening that, because anything I can do to type less, especially these days, I would appreciate it. OTbrewing.com. Adam and Andrew, thank you very much again.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you both. We really appreciate it.
Teresa, thank you, of course, as always.
Anytime.
We'll see you. Thanks to everybody listening live on Facebook. If you guys want more good beer radio, go to thebrewingnetwork.com, of course, and find all of our shows. We have a couple new Brew Strongs up there. A couple new Dr. Homebrews have been posted, so check those out too. We are off next week, but the week after we have a show, and of course it's going to be great. I mean, all of them are just A+. We keep topping ourselves every time. All right, everybody, thanks a lot. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other, and we'll see you.